I'ma shine, want me shine, yeah. One time for my guy, yeah. Hold it ground, hold me down, yeah. Yeah. You know I shine, I'ma shine, yeah. My God, hold me down, I'ma shine, yeah. My God, watch me shine. Whoa, whoa, I'm gonna shine. Whoa, you know I gotta shine, watch me shine.
All right, y'all. It's time to shine. It is time to shine. We had a couple technical difficulties coming on, but nevertheless, we are back yet again for another special episode of the Run the Jewelz Facebook live show and podcast series. I'm your host, King Jewelz, Julian Smartrimple here, checking in for the month of June. We're already here into the summer month. For those that celebrated Memorial Day weekend, hopefully you were able to get some relaxation in and also kick back and also have some fun, especially throughout this holiday 3-day weekend. But this month, we're kicking into Caribbean Heritage Month of June. So shout out to all the Caribbean natives and also the Caribbean descendants. We applaud you and we appreciate you. I know my family is definitely from the Caribbean by way of West Africa. So big up to all of the Caribbeans and West Africans. But we are in for a treat, you all, this evening for episode 156. The Year of Upward Transition is the title of today's episode. Definitely listen and track and subscribe to what we are doing for the Run the Jewelz Show on all podcast platforms. We are releasing new episodes all the way from the vault from season 1 all the way up to season 3, where we're currently at each and every week. So go listen and subscribe on any podcast platform: Google, Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, you name it. We're on all of the podcast platforms. But you're in for a treat. We do have a new episode that we are starting for the month of June. So definitely shout out to all of those that are tuning in and watching with us here on Facebook, YouTube, or even on the podcast. If you're listening in, you're going to be in for a treat this evening. And so I'm about to get ready to bring in my very special guest. She's a dynamic woman that is an entrepreneur and most importantly, a creative and also a creator. She's actually been one of my clients, and also definitely she's been a support to show me more about the art scene here in Atlanta. She's even, I want to say, a spoken word / slam host. She's very well known. I actually got the chance to meet her at one of her events that she hosted last year, which was a dynamic event here in the city of Atlanta. And so I'm going to get you to find out a little bit more about what she does and also about what she's doing with this year of transition. And so I want to introduce you all to my very special guest, Miss Chichi Awari. Chichi, how you feeling? You got the chance to meet her at one of her events that she hosted last.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you feeling this evening?
I'm doing great. It's Awari.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. We got to make sure we get that right. Shout out to Nigeria out there.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really do appreciate it. We definitely did work together about finances and all those sorts of things, which was awesome because as I was going through my transition, there were some things that I needed to learn financially that will help me through the transition. And Julian was a perfect person. I reached out to him. I was like, hey, Julian, don't you do financial consulting? He was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. And it was all through IG. You know, IG is the new text message, you know, just DM, that's how you connect. And so from there, we worked on a lot of things with taxes and just how to save, side hustles. But even before that, I knew Julian prior to Poetic Vibes. That's how we met. We met at a open mic show. He performed, which was super dope. You know, Julian's all about kings and queens. So, you know, if you ever hear any of his pieces, you'll know he's all about royalty, okay? Oh my God, status. But yeah, that's how we met, through Poetic Vibes, the open mic show that was hosted here in Atlanta in Decatur, at a coffee shop, Chocolate coffee shop, which was amazing. So very appreciative of meeting different people, of having this connection, and even being allowed to host such an event, because if y'all don't know, the event was definitely geared towards for everyone, but it was also to promote artists, for awareness in artists, and also for the community, you know, when you don't see a lot of us, and we just need like a space just to get it out, you know, because it's all about how you utilize your energy. So, you know, for some people it's fitness, for some people it's art. I mean, for some people it's, you know, singing, talking, like just whatever. You have to find your way of expression, and it was perfect. You know, we all needed it at the time, and it did its justice. And yeah, so
absolutely. Shout out to all the poets and creatives, and also spoken word artists. You're on the line as the writers, especially even the filmographers and the editors, everybody who's a creative. We all are definitely thankful to be in the city of Atlanta, where creatives are able to thrive here in the ATL. But we're here on the line with my very special guest. If you're just tuning in to the podcast or here on our live stream, I'm here with my very special guest, Miss Chichi Awari, right?
Awari.
I'm sorry. Make sure we get it right. Chichi Awari is here. Yes, she's here, locked and loaded with us for episode 156, the year of upward transition, you all. I'm gonna let Chichi let you all know where she's tuning in from, because a lot of our guests are not always here in Atlanta, or they're just transplants like myself. So Chichi, tell us a little bit about where you're originally from, your family heritage especially, and also why is this subject important to you?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Houston, Texas, now reside in Atlanta, Georgia. Been living here for about going on 3 years now, and definitely still, you know, getting acquainted, because not necessarily just Atlanta, but even just the state itself, Georgia. It's just a whole nother kind of vibe, scenery. You have to explore. You have to just try things, see how it feels. Thank you. Hey, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely appreciate it. But yeah, so I'm here in ATL. So if you're ever here, like, reach out, DM me, let me know, and we can get some good things going here in ATL.
Absolutely. Shout out to H-Town and the ATL, two of the most happening places for African Americans, and especially young millennials here in the South. So shout out to H-Town. But Chichi, I know that you also have many talents, not just hosting open mic and spoken word events and other events. I know you're into the creative art scene, from acting, and you also are into health and wellness. And so talk to us about your year of upward transition. Let people know even what you do during the day. I know you're a superwoman at night, but let people know what you do during the day to help people, and also to uplift and encourage others too throughout your day-to-day.
Yeah, so I definitely, you know, love to encourage, but I also like to be a realistic person, you know, like a realist, and just kind of give you sometimes the raw, you know. But anywho, so during the day, you know, I'm a cycle instructor, fitness instructor. Hey, H-Town, what's up, Delta? So yeah, so During the day, fitness instructor, and at night, writer. So it's just kind of where I am right now. Yeah. So I mean, I guess that sounds cool. I don't know. Sort of, yeah. But it was. I didn't start off that way. So one thing that I noticed with life is that you have to take charge of your life.
Mm.
And if you don't like something, if you want space, you got to create that space. You need time. You got to give yourself that time. So that's what I kind of realized when I was going through like each phase in my life, and shifting from like careers to jobs, all that type of stuff. And another thing is one, patience. You know, you're not going to figure everything out all in one day. You know, you kind of just got to go through the motions and collect those pieces. You know, just be collecting as you're going, in other words. And also is finding out your why, like your purpose. I feel like that helps you start to move, because if you don't have a why, sometimes it's just kind of frustrating with like, well, I mean, I could continue making money, you know what I mean? Or, you know, once you kind of realize like, well, you know, yeah, I'm not happy, you know, but why am I here? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here? Like, what's so good about my presence? Like, why was I brought into this world? Once you start digging deep and asking yourself those questions, you start to really like question your behaviors and certain things that you're doing. You're like, okay, no, I'm not going to do that anymore, because it doesn't really fulfill me. Like, it doesn't, what's the meaning? You know, so it just all depends. And you have to find whatever drives you. You know, for some people, what drives them is competition. For some people, what drives them is, like me, purpose. For some people, what drives them can be anger. Now, anger doesn't have to be a bad thing. You know, I used to think it was a bad thing, like being angry was bad in a way, but being angry is also expression. So it just depends on how you relinquish that anger. Like, let's say you like fitness. So whenever you're angry, you're at the gym flexing, boom, boom, boom. Like, you know, there's different ways to channel that energy. So for, like I said, you just have to find like what drives you, what motivates you, your why, what pushes you.
Yeah, that's real. That's real, Chichi, for sure. In this time, in this day and age, you have to get back to really your purpose and what motivates you to get over any of the struggles at the end of the day. And I know we talked a lot about many of us going through struggles of 2020 last year with the start of the pandemic and COVID hitting. Although Atlanta didn't shut all the way down like other states. Like, talk to us about how have you been doing mentally since last year, coming into this new year, and like why you made it a point to have this be your year of transition for 2021.
Yeah, I mean, when COVID hit, it was just kind of like, honestly, I only had two options that I gave myself. I said, listen, Chichi. And yes, you guys, I talked to myself. I was like, either you're going to die or you're going to live. I had to go extreme because I couldn't give myself an in-between, because it was my drive. I needed to convince myself that I don't have any choice but to move, you know, because I felt like that was such a period where your emotions can easily get the best of you, to where honestly, it was so easy to drown. Like, I honestly wanted to stay underwater. But then there was a part of me, you know, that was just like, well, what good is that going to do if I know that I still have a purpose and there's still things that I have to do here in this world? Like, that's why I said you have to keep finding your why. If not, you know, you will reach that drowning stage. However, if you have your why, if you have your like passion, your purpose, that's going to always keep driving you and motivate you no matter what's going to happen, because life is going to hit you in different directions either way you go. So when COVID hit, like the job that I had, because I was just like working jobs, that was just kind of like where I was in that phase of life, just figuring shit out. And the job I was currently at, I was still in the fitness world, and the job that I had, you know, when COVID hit, things happened. I even caught COVID. I was just like, oh, I thought my immune system was on point. Look, y'all, I never had the flu. Like, I'm that type of person that doesn't really get sick. So when COVID hit me, I was just like, what's happening? What am I gonna do? You know, it's just like, how's this possible? So that took me back a little bit because I had to take the time to recover and just allow it to just kind of play its course. And then from then on, I had to like figure out like how to get income. Like that was just where I was. I was like, all right, well, we got to start moving. And moving meant you got to go ahead and get the bag, like figure out how you can get some money. Like all was in my mind. I was like literally like a rabbit. I was like, I got to get the money, got to get money, got to make some money. Like you just got to have that drive. And that was the focus that I was on when COVID hit. I was like, well, this is just what needs to happen, because in a sense, I needed to survive. I needed to live. I needed essentials.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of us had to definitely adapt to because we couldn't have planned that situation out any more than what a lot of us were just having to adjust immediately at the beginning of March last year. And for those that are tuning in, you're here with my very special guest for episode 156, the year of upward transition, with Chichi talking to us about her year of transition being 2021. We are in the summer months that we're about to step into. And so we definitely are going to be talking about some best practices to finish off this year strong, and especially when it comes to your mind, your health and wellness, and even your finances. And so if you have any questions for Chichi at any time, please feel free to list them in the comment section. We are a live talk show and podcast show. So if you have any questions for Chichi that you want to ask her, definitely don't be shy. We'll get to them as soon as we can. But we are locked and loaded here for episode 156. Shout out to our special jewels watching too. Like, share this with someone that you know can benefit from this information that we are touching on for episode 156. But Chichi, talk to us about the health and wellness piece, because I know you just slid in that you are a cyclist instructor, and that you also are motivating your patrons and also your clients on a regular, just to make sure that they are even keeping up the pace with whatever their personal goals are for their health, or even for their wellness. And so talk to us about like that experience and how you have seen even the market for health and wellness instructors or coaches. Like, how was it affected at the beginning of COVID going into this new year? And then also for you, like, how have your students been able to adapt throughout the next couple months coming up?
Well, I will say it was kind of challenging because at first, everywhere kind of just shut down. All the studios were like, look, we don't know what we're going to do yet. And so it was that very silent period of scrap. Like, you got to scrap with what you got, because we couldn't really dip in the pool yet. We had to kind of just still stay in the outskirt and wait it out for that was like for a good 2 months. And then I think like when May hit, things was coming back up. Businesses was like, look, we're just gonna open up and see what's gonna happen. So then, you know, the jobs were kind of slowly coming back in. And that's really what happened to the fitness industry. It shut down when we were supposed to shut down, like when the state was like shut down. Federal was like shut down. We shut down. And then Atlanta opened back up on a sneak. Like, everyone opened back up. Well, majority opened back up in May.
Yeah.
May,
Yeah.
and most fitness studios was coming back up in May. And then after that, you know, they were all kind of like up and running. And it was crazy because when we did first start opening, people were kind of like inching back their way in. Like it was kind of funny, you know. It was like, I'm gonna just put my toe in the water and I'm gonna come out.
Right.
You know, like they were still kind of like on the fence with COVID and like, I don't want to catch it, blah, 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 because the grocery stores was open, but everybody was surging in the grocery store. Because honestly, even when COVID hit, that was still the only place that was open. So, but then when everybody was eating like crazy during COVID and they realized that they gained weight and saw their effects, then it was like a surge, like coming in like July of like increase of people just like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna start coming in. And so like it started to pick up the pace. And most people's excuses was, one, they were tired of just being at home doing nothing. It was like that you got to get out kind of feeling, that urge of sense of I need to be doing. And then there was also the whole, I gained weight. I can't be eating. Grocery store, this can't be the only place I'm going. So those were like a lot of the stories that I was hearing. And I was like, yo, I agree with you. You know, because even for me, like as an instructor, it was like heavy pressure because I was like, okay, I had my moments of emotional eating, of like stress and finding ways to like balance it out. And then also having that pressure of being this fitness instructor who has to like be and look a certain way. I was like, okay, shit, man, we can eat the chips next week. You know, let's leave it alone for a second. So it was kind of a balance. I did have my moments. I mean, I'm human, but it was also a balance. You know, I forced myself to go outside and just like run, you know, when the gyms weren't open. And honestly, I went back to Houston during that time, and I was there for a good like month, March through ending of April, and I came back May and went back to work. So I mean, like I said, you gotta finesse when things are happening. I'm going to make that move. And I was like, I'd rather be in Houston with my fam than stay in Atlanta alone without it. Like it was just like I was in like solitary confinement. That's what it felt like. And I was like, okay, whoa, this is not healthy. And you also got to know yourself. I knew that if I was to stay like that where I was during that moment for a good 2 months, honestly, I don't know what will happen. But I just knew that wasn't healthy for me. So I was like, I need to be around family. So I went home and I stayed for like a good month and a half and came back to Atlanta when things was kind of like getting back to being ready.
Yeah, family is definitely the core and support system, especially with your culture and many other African, Caribbean cultures, and even all different ethnicities have had to come together in a more strong and close-knit way throughout a lot of the COVID season. And so shout out to all of those that still love and still enjoy being around their family. I know some people fell out with their family over the last year, but shout out to those that have still kept the family unit strong. I know we had a question coming in for you, Chichi. Delta wanted to say, she said, what up, Chichi? Glad you're doing well. How did you deal with the shift in the pandemic culture where everything went virtual in the fitness space, even with the open mic scene? So I know you touched on that a little bit, but.
Yes, so I touched on the fitness space, but I didn't touch on the open mic scene. Thank you for asking, Delta. So what happened was we had to switch to going virtual. And it took me a minute because I had to get myself together first and before I start like throwing out shows. And so once I was situated and I was in Houston, then we went back to our regular schedule of adding in the open mic shows. But see, what happened was while we were doing those open mic shows, it was like some people slowly shifted to virtual, but it wasn't like a grandeur type of thing. Like it wasn't a lot of people doing virtual yet. Then it was like a surge of like everybody's doing virtual. And so for me, it set me back a bit with Poetic Vibes because there was heavy competition. And I now had to look at it more so in a view of, in a sense of this is business versus, oh, we're just bringing everyone together, having a good time, sharing stories, and allowing artists to showcase their talent and entertaining the audience. No, when everybody was doing it, I was like, shit, competition. Like, I got to look at this as a business. How can I be able to get ratings and continue to stay, you know, in the face of the audience? And it was challenging. It was very challenging because one, you got poetry, you got singers, and then you have not even singers, I would say musicians, and then you have like filmmakers who were doing like little videos and stuff. So it was challenging. Like we were kind of here, and you know, musicians were there, and you know, the storytelling videos was like in the middle, and so I was fighting, and I didn't have enough leverage, and so I was like, you know what? So after we were just doing the regular open mic shows, I took a step back and I was like, all right, you know what? I got to re-strategize. And then that's when we came back, and it was like we separated just doing open mic shows and was just doing talent shows as far as a showcase. So in that way, we can bring in all types of talents, and it was organized and planned in advance. And it helped a bit, but it still, of course, wasn't like on no Versus level. Because when Versus came out, it was a wrap. I was like, all right, BT, I'm not, you know what, Sis Beats, all of y'all, I can't fight with y'all. I can't do this. I was watching it though. Those Verses were lit, but I was like, I couldn't compete with that. They were getting a lot of views, though. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I was one of the views. But yeah, but I mean, we were low-key on the sneak, like struggling. I will say the shows were amazing. It's just view counts was a struggle. And so after the last showcase was the Niger Heat. And that was more so of a concert. I switched from showcases, and because I was like, I got to go back on the drawing board. I got to re-strategize. Like, what can I do to bring these ratings back up? Where, like, how does it need to be? What do I need to do to make sure that we still on and popping? And I was like, all right, we doing it even bigger. We're doing concerts, and you know what? We're gonna go outside the U.S. We're going to Nigeria. Like, we're finna throw in some culture. And so when that happened, it was great. It just, as I mentioned, it still wasn't enough for the competition that we were in. And I mean, it was a great send-off to kind of just like slowly, you know, step back. I really had to step back from it, especially because it was a lot of heavy lifting. And I was kind of like solo dolo with that. So I definitely had to take a step back with Poetic Vibes. Still love it, but I got to take a step back. I had to take a step back.
Yeah, and that's where creatives have to have those real talk conversations, because a lot of the creative juices, as what Chichi and we talked about a lot, and all of you Jewels who are watching, know that you have to do cost analysis at the end of the day. You have to see, this project, is it where I can be profitable and still sustain the same momentum of what I put in, the hard work, the passion, the dedication, and everything, or do I need to make adjustments, put it back on the side for a second so I can readjust and then bring it back to my focus? And so that is the path of a creative. We all have had to go through that state of mind. So shout out to Chichi and all the creatives that definitely are able to make those hard decisions. But we want to definitely pivot, Chichi, in talking about like transition. Like what does transition mean to you personally, with the age, the state of mind that you're in right now? Like, why is it important to have a mindset that is in constant transition in 2021? And also, like, what are some reasons you think that hold people back from not being able to transition in this year of 2021?
So for me, transition is going deeper. Like every time when I get a extreme quiet moment, I get deep, like I ask lots of questions, which is why sometimes I can be annoying because, tell me to do something. I'll be like, why? Like it's very necessary because I realize that, energy can be transferred. It can be created or destroyed. So if I'm going to be doing something, that is an energy transfer. And now, do I want to project that much energy at this moment? Like, you have to keep questioning yourself. And is this like, what is that going to do? Like, you get what I'm saying? And so for me, during COVID, when I was in Houston, I had that extra space. I had that quiet moment. Shout out to Danelle Porsche. I don't know if y'all know her. I love Janelle. Like, I also met her through the poetry community. She's like, I don't even know what to call her. Sometimes it's like I call her my mentor, like my artist mentor,
Okay.
And my spiritual mentor. Like, she's just, honestly, she's a blessing. Like, I'm so happy that we connected. It took some time for us to be able to for us to like get to know each other. I mean, she was like more so, of course, very mature versus me. My ego was kind of getting in the way, because I was still kind of like, I was still growing. So there's a lot that I was learning about myself. And I was in that moment of like scatterbrain to where I was aware of certain behaviors that I was having. And so sometimes I be crazy, whatever, it happens when I'm in that phase of I just gotta get through real quick. Like I'm trying to stay above water.
Yeah.
And so anyway, with her, she taught me a lot about spirituality. She was a consultant for spiritual guidance in the mental space, mental health, and health awareness.
Okay.
And so I learned a lot from her. And within that, during COVID, when I was in Houston, she sent me 21 days of meditation by Deepak Chopra. And so we did it together for those 21 days. And it was perfect because it brought me back down. Like it settled my anxiety. Granted, when you stress and you just trying to get through, it's still going to come up, but it's like, you can't say that the anxiety is going to go away.
Right.
Which is what I had to come to terms of. There is no just go away and I want to be this like perfect. No. It's going to be there. It was just, how do I manage it? Like, how do I go through the motions and like manage these feelings and what's happening and stress? And so when I was doing the 21 days of meditation, it brought my heart rate down. Like it was giving me that balance that I kind of needed of like, okay, just breathe real quick. Like you're going to figure it out. It's going to work out. Like just breathe. Then I started writing again, and then bringing back the shows again and just really like coming back into the flow. Because that's what happens sometimes when you get real anxious. It's like it's kind of like you're skating and you slip, and it's like, are you gonna get back up or you're gonna stay there, kind of thing. And so it was 21 days of meditation, you guys, by Deepak Chopra. Definitely check it out. Also check out Danelle Porsche on IG. She's amazing as well. I think right now what she's doing is she's working with, I totally forgot who, but she's doing like a series of like workshops for women. Super, super valuable. I went to one of them, and it's about kind of essentially like tapping back into your power and finding your inner child and like working through like your past and healing. Like it's really dope. Make sure y'all check her out on IG.
Yeah, we definitely talk a lot about Chichi mental health and the overall like holistic health in just everybody's day-to-day lifestyle and day-to-day like operations on the RTJ show. And so shout out to you especially for taking the time to actually take your mental health just as serious as your physical and even your spiritual health. Because a lot of women and men, especially people that look like us, are very much so taboo against like having spiritual coaches or mental coaches, mental therapists, mental counselors. So it's definitely a taboo subject in our community, as you know already. And so we always applaud you, myself, and others definitely taking time to really focus in on their mental. And so tonight's episode has been sponsored. We do have sponsors for each episode of RTJ. And so tonight's episode has been sponsored by none other than Hope Christian International Ministries, Hope Christian Mission Ministries, INC International Ministries. You can see how to support them by clicking the link that's tagged in the comment section to become either a future missionary, or if you want to partner with their international school and organization based out of Liberia, in Riversest, Liberia. Shout out to all those from West Africa. Again, definitely tap in and see how you can be in support or in partnership with Hope Christian Ministries, INC. Back to you though, Chichi. So when it comes to what I wanted to talk to you about, the Atlanta poetry community and also the spoken word community, like talk to us about like the innermost like jewels of the poetry and spoken word community here in the ATL, because I know that you were not just a host, you're a spoken word artist and a creative and a writer in your own right. And so like talk to us about because we always like celebrating folks who are in the creative art space, and Atlanta is like no other city that I've seen in the South when it comes to spoken word. So talk to us about like that inner lens of the community. If someone wanted to peel back the layers and see like how is the spoken word community here in ATL, like what would you tell them?
It's definitely lit. Like the scene, when I jumped in, the poetry scene was on and popping. It was. It was very underground. And as much as I was enjoying it, I was like, look, I'm going with the flow. I'm having a good time. I was learning from everyone. Because I mean, I started poetry when I was a kid. Like poetry started for me middle school. Before middle school, I was just a writer. Like I would write stories, mostly like fictional stories about like just mystical stuff, pretty nerdy stuff. But anyway, and then after that, I got into the poetry vibe of writing in middle school. And after that, that was it. I left it alone. But when I brought it back, it was exciting. It just kind of like opened the door of my childhood again. And I was just having a good time. Now, I will say the portion of the spoken word part, like that's different because that comes in with performance after you're done writing. Like you write it down, you know, and then you perform it. And so that was like a whole nother technique that I didn't learn. And so that was what I had to learn while I was in that space of like, okay, how can I perform what I'm saying? Like, how can people understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so that was kind of challenging for me. That was my challenge. And it was cool seeing other artists get up there and just do their thing, like the confidence and just their writing skills and their performance skills was dope. I will say for myself, you know, with doing everything, you kind of like know your strength more.
Yeah.
And so when I was doing all of that stuff, you know, I was like, okay, well, where are the areas that flow through me easily. Like when I was doing it, I was like, all right, this is easy, versus the things that I was doing that was like extremely challenging. Honestly, hosting was a bit challenging. As much as I didn't think it would have been, it was challenging because it was, one, fighting a fear, and then two, just coming up with shit on the fly. Like I would have it organized and written of like, this is what I'm gonna talk about, but like whenever it was dead space, I was like, okay, you know, how am I going to fill this dead space? And so hosting was very much so a little bit challenging. It wasn't as, and then you're front and center, like everything's direct. Like if you do some shit, like everyone's watching, you know? So it was a space where I wasn't used to, and I was a little bit kind of like that. Okay, this is a challenge. And that was cool. The producing part was definitely fun. Like finding all the talent, that was super fun. Organizing this show, that was fun. Like the writing a poetry book, that was an interesting space. That was also fun. But the challenging part for me was performing my poems, performing my pieces, and hosting. Those two were the challenges for me.
And stay right there with that point too, because I want you to give us some jewels, because we always like talking to those that want to either get into spoken word or public speaking. Like what are some tips or some jewels that you can give those first timers, since you've seen a lot of them with open mics that you've either been in or that you've hosted with a poetic vibes, like talk to the people that may want to get over their fear or their initial things that are holding them back from even getting on the stage in front of people that they don't even know. Like talk to those people that may be still afraid to go and perform or even to go and speak up for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you just got to do it. That's one. Start small, though. If you're going to do it, definitely don't be on Apollo Theater talking about, I'm going to be a host. Like, start small. Start small, you know, do some underground hosting here and there, whatever. If you want, start digital. Then, you know, when you kind of get a hang of like the structure of it, then you can go live, and then you can advance in building a wider crowd, a bigger crowd. If that's the path that you choose to go on. Because I even been to like shows, comedy shows, and I would see some comedians and they'll be like, oh, I traveled around the world. I've been a feature at Tiffany Haddish show, Kevin Hart's show, Chris Rock's show. And I'm just like, okay, that's dope. Like, you know, like they have reached that point where they continue to grow that skill. So if that's like the path that you want to go on, you got to keep like challenging, because honestly, even being a fitness instructor, like the job that I do requires performance. So I got to every day come back up there on that stage, get on that bike and start like cycling and saying, giving instructions, and honestly being confident. Like, if you don't feel like you're confident, fake that shit. Like, you have to, because if you're not confident up there with the mic, it's going to be really hard for people to engage with you. And the number one key thing with performing, hosting is engagement. You want to be able to somehow grasp the audience attention, whether that's through jokes, whether that's through like, I don't know, spirituality, like whatever it is that you're performing up there, got to be able to grasp that audience attention. Otherwise, you're just up there. No one cares.
Yeah, and that's real, like you said, in leading the charge, especially when you can transfer the cycling instructor all the way to being a spoken word host, that you do have to really keep the crowd engaged, and that's a talent in itself. And why do you think for millennials, because a lot of our watchers that are jewels listening in or that are watching us on the replay, they are wanting to be in your shoes, but they don't feel that they have something to say, or they feel that they don't have a word or a piece of encouragement to get people intrigued or engaged. And so, like, talk to those millennials that are tuning in, Chichi, that may not know like what their voice is, or may not know potentially what they're passionate about, or what their purpose is even. Like, talk to them about like how basically getting in tune by doing things like what you are doing to elevate your and transition yourself to higher levels. Like why millennials need to get on pace with this for the rest of 2021.
I think what's holding them back is perfectionism. You know, having this thought and feeling of, oh, it's got to be right the first time. Hell no. You start hosting, your first day is going to suck. Like, you got to get the jitters out. Like, you got to mess up. It needs to be messy in the beginning. You need to make those mistakes, because then as you continue to build, you're catching those mistakes. You know, you're tweaking them here and there. And then when you get to that level of wherever it is you're trying to go, you've kind of mastered it at that point, because you went through all the crooks and cranny in the past, to where now at this point of where you are, oh, you're a killer. So you just gotta, there is no such thing as perfectionism. It's just practice. Like, you just gotta keep doing it and getting better at it, and being compassionate with yourself, and not comparing your journey to somebody else. If it takes you 12 years, okay, it took you 12 years. You know, if it took you 5, it took you 5. Like, you can't compare your journey to somebody else's, because everybody's different. Everybody's different. It's different. And then honestly, it's also timing. Like, you weren't supposed to make it in year 6. That wasn't for you. Like, you needed to make it in year 12. Like, that was all you. That was where that plan that the universe had was like, this is when you're going to shine. All the work that you put in, this is when you're going to shine. So you just got to keep working, and you have to be, which is why it's really important to do a lot of shadow work. You have to be okay with being in the dark. Now, when I say being in the dark, I don't mean being in the dark like evil, Knievel type stuff. No, I mean like being in the dark, like in terms of like, you don't got to be in the scenes yet. Like, you trying to be on BET already, on MTV, like on Oprah's show, like, you know what I'm saying? Like in the top movies, billboards. You don't have to have all of that yet. Like, you gotta be okay with being where you're at, grinding, love the grind, hustle hard, finesse, make smart decisions, know how to maneuver, you know, continue to create, stretch your brain, stretch your talent, be moving, you know, no matter what. It is okay to take those breaks and recuperate, but you do have to continue moving. Clap for yourself. You know, you can't be waiting for mommy and daddy to clap for you, for uncle and auntie. You got to keep clapping for yourself, because that's how you're going to be your best self, by channeling into, you know, your inner power. And that means that you're doing your own thing without having the expectation of, is anyone looking at me? No, just grind it out. And then when you get to that point, all that work that you did, like it's gonna look so effortlessly, because people are gonna be like, how? But you know what you did. You know what it took. You know the grind. Nobody sees all of that stuff. Everyone just sees the shine. Okay, yeah. So you want to shine, you got to be okay with the grind. Like, that's just how it is. And so, but love yourself through the journey and be patient.
That's so true, Chichi, right there. A lot of people, they don't love on themselves because they feel that they should be getting to the professional performer level, or getting to the professional businessman or woman's level. And they're not seeing all the failures that that person has taken on the chin or on the backside to get to where they're at. And so definitely that's some jewels of wisdom for myself and a lot of you fellow jewels that are listening. Definitely love yourself throughout the journey, and also be encouraged throughout the journey, because if you don't give up, you're going to eventually get to that level of professional. But talk to us, Chichi, before we talk about your book, because I know we want to get to your book that you published. You made a major decision, which I applauded you for at the beginning of 2021, which was to make a decision to build a financial legacy for yourself and to change the way that you look at finances and money. And I mentioned to you that I've worked with tons of clients in their late 20s and early to late 30s and even early 40s that have not come to that conclusion of that they should be building a financial legacy that is different from those who like to live with debt and operate in debt, and also just live like the world versus like living debt free and actually becoming debt free. So talk to us. How did you come up with that challenge for yourself going into this year and being at the age of your mid 20s right now, and actually seeing some of your peers that may not even be on this track and wanting to get their finances in order or even to build wealth and get out of debt? Like, talk to us. Where was your mind at, sis? Where was your mind at, Queen, when it came to wanting to make a decision to not live like everybody else and basically be on that IG young, fly, and flashy mindset when they be dead broke at the end of the day?
Yeah, so I definitely was never that person, though. You'll never catch me with a Gucci belt. I was never that person. Maybe like in middle school, you know, I did want the Jordans. Hey, I went in line one time to catch one of the Jordans. I think it was the Jordan 5. Yeah, I think it was 5. It was like the red, black. I don't remember that one, red, black, and white. That was like middle school days, you guys. But then, you know, of course, when I got into high school, when I got into college, it was like I was very basic, like, you know, just living off of the average, like whatever I can make. I wouldn't just go shopping like that. Like, I would keep things to the minimum. Honestly, would just focus on the essentials. Now, that was kind of like my mindset then. It was more so of like saving and survival. So it was the basic. I had the basic fundamentals back then. And it lasted me because, you know, that was the point that I was at when I made that transition. And I was like, oh, Delta, you had the 5s. Yeah, they were lit. They were lit. It actually lasted a long time. But yeah, so where I was at that point, like when I was in college, I was just with the basic necessities, like saving, paying for rent, paying for food, paying for utilities and school. That was it. So those were like my main focus. So I wasn't thinking about investing, all that stuff. No, basics, food, you know, shelter, and education. Those are my three main focus. And I was using that method all throughout for like 6 years, up until when I graduated and I started working like a 9 to 5. I was still trying to use that same method. And it was like, it kind of wasn't working. And so I believe like 2019, then I was like, you know what, let me start looking into investments. What is this, you know? And I started looking into it, and I downloaded like the Stash app. I don't know if you guys heard of it. And I was like, well, you know, I'm gonna start small and I'm gonna build a little portfolio here, blah, blah, blah. I was just kind of learning. You know, during that space, I was transitioning and all that type of stuff. And I realized that if I'm not going to be working a 9 to 5, see, this is when you have to like get a little smarter with like your hustle. And so I was like, well, if I'm not going to be working a 9 to 5, like, how am I going to be making money? Which is why you have to start asking yourself questions. And I was like, well, okay, I can live. I know I can live within my means, but I still need to somehow be able to build for the future. So that's when I started getting really serious about investments, really getting serious about like what my future looks like what I wanted, all that type of stuff. And it takes time because I had to keep trying stuff because I was like, oh, I want this. Get into it. No, I don't want this for my future. Like this isn't, it's not, I don't have enough passion for this for me to be able to keep it going. So it's like you have to also kind of try things out if you're trying to build off of it, because it's going to take some blood, sweat, and tears whenever you're building. So you actually have to love it, or else you're just going to be wasting a lot of effort and energy. So yeah, if you're new to the investment, it's cool. It's okay. Like welcome. It's fun. Lots to learn. You're always learning. There's different ways to invest. Start small. You got a 401k, like that's really good. You could start by that, using that to invest. Just lots of different ways.
Yeah, and Chichi, just so you all listening, Jewels that are listening, she's a solid woman with her investments. I thought that she was gonna be like a lot of the 20 somethings that I know that are like not even in tune with 401k, Roth IRAs, and even knowing how to cut your corners with the cell phone, with not having any utilities, yada yada yada. Like she was putting me on game with a lot of cost saving strategies that we were exchanging amongst each other because she is actually taking her finances serious. I just gave her a little bit of coaching and mentoring to get out of debt a little bit faster and putting in strategies. But she was someone that was way better off than early 20 somethings or mid 20 something year olds that I've worked with and even seen their budget. She had a budget already. She was already, like she said, using apps. And so for those that are trying to get their finances in order, there's no excuses. There's people in their 20s that are outdoing people that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s when it comes to budgeting and financial wellness and management. So shout out to you, Chichi, and to those that are taking a stand to make their finances a priority in 2021. But I want to get to talking about your book as we get ready to close out shortly, Chichi, because I know time is running away from us. But how did you publish your book, and also talk to us about the book and what was the inspiration behind it too?
Yeah, so I just felt like I needed to share my story. I mean, throughout producing Poetic Vibes, I was writing. I've written lots of pieces, a lot of pieces. And, you know, within all of those pieces, some of them were just trial and error. And some of them were like, okay, I'm going to put this to the side. This one is really good. And eventually I got to a point like when COVID hit, I was able to sit down also and write more and organize a lot of the pieces that I had to where I would throw some away, keep some. And then it was like, okay, I'm ready to write, to publish this book, because I had enough pieces to where they were organized. And it was crazy enough to where I was writing those pieces all at different times. Like none of it was like, okay, this step 1, step 2. It didn't go that way. It was just all kind of random writings.
Right.
And as a writer, you have to do that, because if you say, oh, chapter 1, chapter 2 has to be next, you're going to go in the spiral of like being stuck to believing that chapter 2 has to be next. No, you just have to be writing and it'll come together. So that was what I was doing with my poems. I was just writing sporadically. Whenever the thought comes, I start writing. If it's on my phone, I'll put it on the notes and then I'll transfer it on the laptop. And so during COVID, I finally got them all together. I messaged on, I put in a post on Facebook on a poetry author page, community page. And I was like, hey, anybody know any publishers for poetry books? I have like my poems ready. I just need to get it published and official. Thank you, Midnight Prayer. And they were like, yeah, somebody had reached out, Cassandra Free, shout out to Cassandra Free, and was like, hey, James Whiter publishing company can do it for you. So
Wow.
shout out to James. Reached out to him. We were working together. He helped me a little bit more with the organizing portion, and the creative thought process. Then I was like, okay, now that the pieces are flowing, I was like, you know what? It's time for the front page, the imagery to kind of play the part of putting this all together. And then I worked with Victoria through freelancing, and she was able to illustrate a drawing for me. And what was so funny was that drawing of like the front cover of I have the book with me actually.
Yeah, show it to us, because you know my story, Chichi. I thought it was a children's book when I first saw it. I saw the cover. I thought it was a children's book, y'all. I was like, Chichi had to break it down. She said this is a book of poetry.
No, I love cartoons. Which is why I had to make it a cartoon, because sometimes I think I'm a character.
It's dope.
So this image was something like when I went to my therapist, when I was seeing a therapist, when I was working on my mental health, she was like, oh, draw something. And this is what I drew. And this was 2 years ago. I didn't know what it meant. I just drew it. And when I was writing the poems and all that type of stuff, I didn't even know that all of this was gonna get connected. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, you can't start off with the perfectionist mindset when it comes to your creative journey, because you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, you don't know. You just gotta start and just do stuff, and then it's gonna come together. And you gotta trust yourself and be like, it's gonna come together. And that's why you have to be kind and have compassion. So yeah, this image was done in 2019. I was just writing and put them all together. And throughout the whole stories in each chapter, it's pretty much just going through the motions of what it's like to be in this world of expectations from who others believe you're supposed to be versus who you are destined to be. So in a sense, it's finding yourself, finding your true calling, finding your purpose, and what it means for you to be here in this world. So y'all should definitely check it out, Nigerian Middle Child.
Yeah, that's for sure. And how can they purchase it, Chichi? I know we're gonna let you tell people how they can support you at the end, but where can they purchase it? Is it on the website or on Amazon?
Yes, so it's on Amazon. You can also follow me on IG at Chichi Awari, and the link is in the bio, and it links you straight to Amazon for you to make that purchase, and for sure support. But if you want to directly, purchase it, Cash App, and I can make sure that I sign it, and I will ship it out to you. You get my signature and all that lovely stuff. But yeah, so it was the whole poetry stuff. Like, it was a great initiation to my career in the creative space and with advancing in writing. As I said, with your creative journey, you just have to keep going. And it's okay to take those moments to take a step back, to recuperate, especially when I've gotten so used to writing a certain way that now that I'm like changing the way that I'm writing, I have to be so like kind to myself. Just like with when I met up with Julian and he was giving me all these new like financial stuff, and I was just like, sometimes my brain was just like, look, Julian, just give me a minute. Because like I said, the way that I was like doing my finances, it was like from 6 years of being consistent. Same thing with my fitness journey. I was doing everything for like 6 years, so when you're on this like consistent path and you get to that point of like you hit a wall and you got to change, that right there, that's the transition. That's the transition. And it's like, it's a beautiful disaster. Yeah. Because it's crazy, but there's beauty that comes from it, but you got to go through the shit, and it's a lot of crazies of trying to get your mind and your body adjusted to thinking and behaving and doing things differently. It takes a lot of patience, compassion, and energy. So
yeah, and just like Chichi's saying, as we get ready to close out shortly with our final jewels, I told Chichi she was going to have to go through that breaking process to build up a new mindset, and that's what the year of transition, what Chichi has told us all tonight, is all about. If you're not going through a breaking period, a break point, that you are literally crying, you're getting mad, you're getting agitated at literally having to stretch and pull your mind apart and have that paradigm shift take place, then you're not really transforming and growing, because transition and growth and transformation is never a pretty sight. I don't care who it is, whether it's the top athlete that you're talking to all the way to the best teacher. You always are going to go through a paradigm shift, and it's always not pretty. And so shout out to those who are transitioning still in 2021. But we've come to the last part of our interview, Chichi, where we allow our guests to leave a final jewel of wisdom, a final jewel for thought that you want to leave with our fellow jewels that are watching. I know you've talked about your process from going from last year, handling your mental and your health, and even your career from the pandemic. We've talked about your Poetic Vibes movement, and how you're literally an author and continuing to elevate and shift into your perfect form. So what final jewel would you want to leave with those that are tuning in or watching us online or on the podcast listening in? What would you want to tell people when it comes to your transition and why they should also have a year of transition?
Freedom. That's it. You want it? You gotta create it. Freedom. That's all I gotta say. Freedom. You want to be free? You create it. You know, you gotta put in the effort, and just trust, have faith, believe in yourself, and just keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You'll get to wherever it is that you're trying to go. You'll get there.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Shout out to those that keep going and don't give up. And I forgot to mention too, Chichi, we're a very family and pet friendly show. We love the kitty meowing in the background. He probably hungry. We love.
That's my roommate's cat. Okay. I was like, I don't know if y'all saw. I was like, shh. It was just like crawling around.
We love the animals and the babies on the RTJ show. So shout out to those who are pet lovers and pet owners. But it's been a pleasure serving with you, Queen. I know we want to make sure that people can support you. So I'll give you the floor so you can let people know how they can follow you or where they can get in touch with you if they even want to potentially partner with you in some capacity with either poetry or creative writing or whatever the case may be. Even going to your cycling, definitely shout out your cycling classes. How can they support you in your movement this summer?
Yeah, so make sure you follow me at Chichi Awari on IG. I usually throw out a little bit of here and there. The link in my bio will have the link to my book. We'll have the link to the Cerebral Palsy Foundation to donate and support, and also to take a class, a spin class, and to also, if you want any connections with freelance writing, if you want to team up together and write together, or if you want any tips of how to start your own open mic show, I will be having some teaching lessons soon. So just stay in tune, lots of things in the works. And just stay in contact, Follow me and you'll be able to see all the things and goodies that we have in store for you.
Absolutely. Y'all go and follow Chichi this summer. Go support this dynamic creative that is about to be doing some major moves as we go into the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. What we always do, Chichi, is say a prayer to bless you for coming on the show, for sharing your evening and also your expertise and your story with us. And then I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening, if that's all right.
Yes.
All right, Father God, I just want to thank you for Chichi coming on RTJ this evening, just to be vulnerable and to most importantly be encouraging to those that are going through either a silent transition or whether they're going through a vocal transition period right now. No matter how difficult or how strenuous it may look, just as Chichi said, we know that there is light on the other side of that tunnel. And so we thank you for the light that is within her. We thank you for using her as a mouthpiece and also as a voice of reason and a voice of encouragement and inspiration to those kings and queens that may even be on the edge right now as we go into the summer months. We know that there's a lot of activity that's happening, that people are still depressed no matter what the weather may look like. People are still struggling and people are still in turmoil. And so we thank you for using her as just a voice of inspiration to those that may be wanting to give up right now. We thank you for her family, her support system, and most importantly, for the talents and gifts that you've given her. May you multiply them exponentially in 2021 and 2022. And we love you, we thank you, and we honor you. And it's in Jesus, Yeshua's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Chichi, you know we're going to be in touch. We appreciate you, Queen, coming on. Definitely, we'll drop in the bio and also in the comments where you can support Chichi. Go definitely support Chichi, what she is doing here in ATL and also soon internationally and abroad.
Yes. Smile so I can get a photo.
Absolutely.
Yay. Thank you so much, you guys. Make sure you follow me. I appreciate it so much, Julian. Super glad that we met. This was awesome. And you guys enjoy the rest of your week.
Absolutely. Y'all be safe, everyone at Chichi. We'll talk soon, sis.
Okay, bye. Peace. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
All right, y'all. I'm going to do some quick jewels for thought. We wanted to make sure that we gave you all of the jewels this evening with my very special guest, Miss Chichi, sharing her testimony and her experience on the year of upward transition. It's all about what you are willing to do and also what you are going to do. A lot of times, as you heard Chichi say, people say that they want to transition. They say that they want to shift. They say that they want to change. But really, what is your mental doing? Are you staying in mental blockages or mental places where you're not able to push through because your mental is not able to go where you are wanting to go? Even with your body, are you taking care of your temple? Are you taking care of your body that God, that Yah has given you in order to get you to where you are going and to get you to that next level? You heard Chichi say she's all about health and wellness, but most importantly, she's about getting your mental straight and also getting your spiritual straight. And so you cannot neglect one versus the other. You have to be working on all three. But a lot of times people neglect their mental a lot more than they should. And so shout out to those that are not against receiving mental health coaching, spiritual coaches, spiritual guides, even therapists, counselors, all of those people that are guides and coaches and mentors in one way or another that are here to help us get through life. But you have to be able to decide for yourself that you actually need help, that you actually are not there where you should be yet. And so you have to humble yourself to be able to receive and not have a closed fist where you cannot receive anything. Closed fists don't get fed because no one knows that you're open enough to receive any feedback, any advice, or any assistance. And also closed mouths accordingly don't get fed. So you have to open your mouth and speak. If you are a king or a queen in need, don't go another month after we just went through Mental Health Awareness Month last May and talking about the importance of receiving help and receiving assistance so that you don't end up waiting till it's too late. And so those are my final jewels for thought. This has been episode 156. If you've been blessed by tonight's very special episode for the first episode for the month of June, definitely feel free to sow a seed with us, you all. We are an international show in ministry here every single Tuesday, putting in the comment section where you can support us by giving a donation, a seed. No seed is too large or too small. But we have our Patreon account right now that I'm excited that we just launched recently. We've already had a few people for season 3 that are our VIP donors, VIP jewels that have sown into our show and also into our ministry here. So shout out to all of those jewels out there, our VIP jewels that have already sown for season 3. But no seed is, again, too large or too small. If you feel led or feel inclined, this will go into good soil. This does not go into my pockets. This goes into the production of our team and also of what we do here for the RTJ show and Smart Jewels Enterprises. We literally have equipment that we purchased from last season to this season. So shout out to all of those VIP jewels out there. We even purchased recently a blue snowball mic that I'll put on the screen. We're not playing out here this season, you all. We have blue snowball mics. We have headsets that we put into place, ring lights, you name it, you all. So this goes back into the RTJ show and the production and the ministry. And so no seed is, again, too small or too large. You can Cash App us also at Smart, Jewelz, or Venmo us at Smart Jewels Enterprises. But I'm just your humbled host, Julian Smart Rimple here, King Jewels, locked and loaded for a very special episode with season 3, episode 156. Next week, we do have on Tuesday a very controversial subject and episode coming. So I'm excited because we talk about a lot of controversial subjects and topics here on RTJ. And so you will want to stay tuned to see what the title of next week's episode is. And so it's been a pleasure serving with you all this evening. Those are my final jewels for thought. Take care of your chicken, take care of your health, take care of your mental, and most importantly, shine like the bright diamond jewel that God has created you to be, because someone else needs to feel and also needs to see and sense your light that is within you so that they can come out of their dark pit or their dark time frame that they may be trapped in because you chose not to open your mouth and shine. And so shine, jewels. I'll see you all next Tuesday, God willing. Have a great rest of the week, a short holiday week, and I'll see you all next Tuesday. Until we meet again, peace, blessings, and shine bright. Peace.